Hello everyone, my name is Peter Steele with Learn Code Today, and welcome back to another episode in the series on C# algorithms. Today we're going to be taking a look at a new algorithm that's going to find the absolute difference between two numbers. Let's begin. Okay, so as I said there in the intro, we're going to take a look at a new algorithm that's going to look at the absolute difference between two different numbers. So this is going to be problem number 2 on the W3 resource site here. And it's basically saying write a C# program that gets the absolute difference between n and 51. If n is greater than 51, return triple that absolute difference. So let's jump over in the code here. It's pretty simple. I've already copied and pasted that in for us to make it easier. And so again, this is another word problem that we just have to break down the language to see what it is exactly that they're asking for. So we're getting the absolute difference. So what does the absolute difference mean? Now that might trip some of you up that are just starting, but if you remember back to math class, the absolute value of a number is always a positive number, right? So if you take 30 minus 20, all right, you get 10. That's a difference of 10 between those two numbers. But if you take 20 minus 30, you get negative 10. It's still a difference of 10, but it's a negative number, and we want the absolute value of that negative number, which would give us 10. And it says between n and 51. So they're already giving us one of our conditions here, one of our numbers that we have to work against. So we really only need to take in one variable, one input, which is going to be n. If n is greater than 51, return triple the absolute difference. Okay, so that seems pretty basic. If the input number is larger than 51, it's going to return us a negative number. So we need to make sure that we take the absolute value of that and then triple it. All right, so let's create a method down here. It's just going to be a public static int method. And we're just going to call this one absdiff for absolute difference. We do need to take in one input here, and I'm going to use n. The reason why I'm using n in this instance and not something a little bit more explicit is because in the instructions they specifically use the term n. So I don't want it to be too confusing. So inside of here, we could do something simple like an if statement. Okay, and we can say if n is greater than 51, do something, else do something different, right? And we discussed this in the last video, and if you haven't watched that yet, I highly encourage you to take a look at it. We kind of talk about some ternary operators, which we're going to be using here instead of an if statement. So we're going to clean up the code and make it a little bit easier. So if you don't know what that is, go back, watch that video there in the card above, and we'll explain to you. But what the problem with this is, real quick, is that we just have 51 hard-coded in here. And that's an issue because we call it a magic string or a magic number in programming. And when you come back a month later, a year later, or whatever, have a team come back and take a look at your code, they're gonna be like, what does this mean? I don't understand what 51 is. I don't understand why it's here. And you may do the same thing coming back to the code later on. So it's really important that we define any kind of variables like this ahead of time, either as a constant or whatever. So that way we know when we come back and look at that code what it's for, and it's not just hanging out magically inserted into the code. So we're actually going to delete this whole if block here, and we're going to do a constant int, and we can call this whatever we want. We're just going to call it a setnum, and we're going to say it's 51. Now, obviously, you would use a name that makes more sense and explains what's going on, but in this instance here, this is what we're working with. And we can do just a ternary operator here for this, or expression, I should say, for this. So, okay, if n is greater than setnum, then we do something, right? Okay, well, what do we do? If that's true, what do we do? Well, we need to get the absolute value of that difference. So 51 minus n, right? So you might do 51 minus n like this, but again, remember we have the setnum there, so we're just going to do the setnum minus n. All right. Well, that gives us the number, right? That gives us what we want, but it's not going to be the absolute value. So how do we get absolute values inside of C#? Well, to get that, we use something called math.abs. Now, math absolute value, it's just a built-in thing for C#. You can use it for pretty much anything. We can now take setnum minus n, and that will give us our sum that we're looking for, and then we need to multiply that by 3. And that's going to return back the proper value that we're looking for. Now, if it's not true, if n is smaller than 51, well, we're just going to take setnum and subtract by n, and that's it. And it'll return that back to us. So we've created our method for this. Now we need to actually call this method up here inside of the main. So what we're going to do is CW, which is the shortcut for console write line, since we are just doing a console application here. And we're going to call that ABS diff. There we go. And the website gives us some sample inputs here. So 53, 30, and 51. So we'll do 53, just like so. We're going to copy and paste this a couple times. All right. And then the next one was 30, and then 51. All right, now in the last video, I did do a console read key. I found out that it's not really necessary, at least on my editor, because I have it set to where it doesn't automatically close the window when I'm in debug mode. So I can just omit that, and it says a little bit of typing. So we're just going to hit play here. And then we will zoom in here, just like so. And you can ignore all this stuff down below it, but essentially we get our output as 6, 21, and 0. Now if we go back to the website here, you will see that the expected output is indeed 6, 21, and 0. And that's because, again, it's going through and it's taking 53. Okay, well, 53 is larger than 51. So what's the absolute difference between 53 and 51? Well, it's only 2 times 3 is 6, so that's how we get 6. 30 is smaller, so it's just taking 51 minus 30, which is going to be that 21 there. And then 51 is obviously equal to 51, so it's not greater than, so it's just going to turn to this part here where it says 51 minus 51, which is equal to 0. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's just another quick short lesson on another type of algorithm that you can use inside of C#. Again, it's very basic, and we're going to go through some basic ones initially and then work our way up through some of the more advanced ones. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. I'd greatly appreciate it, and we'll catch you in the next video. Hey everyone, if you like that video, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And if you want more tips, tricks, and tutorials, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. You can find us on the web on Facebook and Twitter. And if you'd like to view more videos, just click on the video cards on your screen now.